I never thought I'd be that guy who finds out his wife's been cheating on him. Honestly, I always believed in the sanctity of marriage, that if you loved someone, you'd stay faithful no matter what. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Lisa for about 8 years now. We met in college, a whirlwind romance, and got hitched right after graduation. I thought we were solid, the kind of couple everyone envied, or at least I thought so. At first, everything was perfect. We had our regular routines, shared a house, and had 2 kids we adored. But lately, things felt different. Lisa was more irritable, snapping over small things, going out more often without telling me where she was going. She'd disappear for hours, and I'd be left wondering what exactly she was up to. I didn't want to accuse her, but something was off. It started with small signs: forgot to tell me she'd be late, avoiding eye contact when I brought up plans. She became more dismissive, sarcastic even, about everything I said. I'd catch her lying about where she was one day, and the next day she'd brush it off like I was imagining things. Still, I told myself maybe she was stressed, maybe just tired. But deep down, I knew better. Then came the day that broke everything wide open. I was cleaning up the house after dinner, and I decided to check her phone out of habit, just a quick peek like I'd done a dozen times before. But this time I found something I couldn't ignore. A string of texts late at night between her and someone named Tom. I didn't even recognize the number at first. The texts weren't just friendly, they were flirtatious, filled with innuendos and promises. And the thing that hit me hardest, they were happening while I was home, right under my nose. I remember feeling my blood run cold. My hands trembled as I scrolled through more messages, each one more revealing than the last. She was talking about how she missed him, how she wished things were different. And the worst part, she said she felt guilty, but it was like she couldn't stop herself. I'd always known Lisa to be a bitchy, manipulative woman. She's the kind who lies so smoothly you start questioning your own judgment. But this was a new level. She was cheating on me with her father's best friend, Mark, at my own father's funeral reception. My dad died suddenly 2 weeks ago. It was a shock, a tragedy that tore our family apart. We were all supposed to be mourning, supporting each other, and here I was, finding out my wife was in bed with someone else, literally, in a way that made my stomach churn. I had gone to their house for the funeral reception, and instead of comfort, I saw Lisa sneaking out of the guest room with Mark. They were holding hands, trying to hide it, but I saw enough to know what was going on. It was like I got sucker punched. My mind just froze. I didn't even know what to say or do. I was stunned, furious, humiliated, everything all at once. My wife was cheating on me during the worst time of my life, and with someone I used to consider a friend of the family. It's like the universe decided, yeah, let's pile it all on him at once. I couldn't confront her right then. I just left the house, walked outside into the cold night, and stood there trying to process what I had just seen and read. It felt like the ground beneath me was collapsing. My mind kept replaying the images of them in my dad's house, in my dad's damn house, while I was upstairs grieving. I knew I couldn't keep this bottled up. I had to confront her. But I also knew I needed to think carefully, figure out what I wanted to do next. Still, the betrayal was so raw, so vivid, that I couldn't help feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. The question now was, how do I handle this? Do I confront her right away? Do I confront Mark? Do I tell my kids? All these thoughts swirled in my head, but one thing was clear: everything was about to change, whether I was ready or not. I decided I couldn't just brush this off or pretend it wasn't happening. I had to face her. I went back inside the house, my head pounding, and found Lisa in the kitchen, pretending to be busy cleaning up. She looked up when I entered, her eyes narrowing like she already knew I knew something. That smirk she always had when she was lying was there, and it made my stomach churn. "Hey," she said, voice too casual, like she wasn't caught red-handed. "You look upset, what's wrong?" I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "Lisa, I saw the messages, the ones between you and Mark. I know you've been cheating on me." She blinked, then scoffed, crossing her arms. "Oh, asterisk that, you're overreacting. It's just some stupid flirtation. It doesn't mean anything." I felt my jaw tight. "Don't lie to me. I saw everything. You've been sneaking around, lying about where you are, and now I find out you've been fucking my dad's best friend during his funeral reception. How sick can you get?" Her face twisted into a sneer. "You're blowing this way out of proportion. Mark's just a friend. We were just talking, okay? It's harmless. You're overreacting as usual. I couldn't believe the words coming out of her mouth. She always had a way of twisting things, turning facts around so it was somehow my fault. But this time I wasn't having it. I stepped closer, voice cold but trembling with fury. Harmless, you're lying through your teeth. I saw the way you looked at him, the way you touched him. Don't even try to deny it. Her eyes flashed with anger. Oh, give me a break. You think I'm some kind of fool? Just because you're upset doesn't mean I'm cheating. Maybe you're the one with the problem, always suspicious, always accusing. Maybe you're just jealous because I'm still attractive and I have options. That hit me like a punch. I stared at her in disbelief. This wasn't my wife. This was some manipulative, bitchy woman who'd rather lie than face the truth. I felt a rage boiling inside me, but I kept my voice in check. Options. You're sleeping around at your father's funeral reception. That's your idea of options. I want a straight answer, Lisa. Are you fucking Mark? She rolled her eyes, scoffing. God, you're so dramatic. I swear you blow everything out of proportion. Yeah, I might have kissed him once or twice, but it meant nothing. I didn't realize I was supposed to be faithful to a guy who's been distant for years. You're not exactly perfect, Mike. You're not the man I married anymore. That comment stung worse than anything. I felt the air leave my lungs. How could she be so selfish, so cold? I realized then that the woman I'd loved and trusted for years was gone, replaced by this manipulative, bitchy version who could lie to my face and cheat on me without a second thought. I turned away, feeling numb. I couldn't even argue anymore. My mind was racing, trying to hold back the tears, the rage, the helplessness. I didn't want to believe she was capable of this, but the evidence was irrefutable. I knew I had to do something. I had to decide whether I wanted to fight for this marriage or cut her off completely. I left the kitchen, went up to our bedroom and closed the door. I sat on the bed, staring at the wall, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut so many times I'd lose consciousness. I remembered my dad's words about loyalty, about honesty, about how marriage was supposed to be about trust. And now that trust was shattered beyond repair. The worst part, I still loved her, or at least I thought I did, but love doesn't mean anything when it's betrayed so blatantly. I kept asking myself, how do I move on from this? Can I? Do I want to? Or is this the end of everything I believed in? The only thing I knew for sure was that my world had just been flipped upside down and I didn't know if I'd ever get the pieces back together again. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying her words, her lies, the images of her and Mark sneaking around during what should have been the most sacred time of grief for our family. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly a little numb. I kept asking myself, is this really happening? Did I miss the signs? How did I not see this coming? The next morning, I knew I had to figure out what I was going to do. I couldn't just sit around and stew in anger. I decided to go through her phone again, want to see if I missed anything the first time. Maybe there was more proof, or maybe some message I hadn't caught. I wanted to be sure I wasn't losing my mind. I found her messages with Mark again, but this time I noticed something else. More messages from a few other guys, some flirtatious, some downright explicit. Lisa wasn't just cheating with Mark. She was playing the field, making a fool of me and probably others too. I was furious. All those years I spent working, providing, loving her, and she was out there, lying, cheating, treating me like I was invisible. I felt rage unlike anything I'd ever experienced. I considered confronting her again right then, but I knew what that would do. She'd just deny everything, call me crazy, or spin some story about how I was paranoid. I needed a plan, something more calculated. I remembered a conversation I had with my buddy Tom a few months ago. He's always been a bit of a devil's advocate, but he's also sharp. He told me once, if you're gonna catch a cheating wife, you gotta be smarter than her. Get proof, then decide what to do. That's when I hit on the idea of recording her, maybe even setting up some hidden cameras. I didn't want to go out on a limb and accuse her without more evidence. If I was going to destroy her, it had to be on solid ground. Over the next few days, I started planning. I bought a small voice recorder, hid it in the bedroom, and kept an eye on her routines. She was still acting weird, more defensive, more bitchy, snapping at everything I said. She'd leave the house for hours claiming she was running errands or meeting friends, but I knew better. One afternoon, she left in a rush after a fight over nothing. I seized the opportunity. I quietly set up the recorder near the bed, making sure it was discreet but functional. I didn't expect much, but I wanted proof. That night I hid in the living room pretending to watch TV. In the recording I heard her voice, sharp, sarcastic, and full of lies. She called Mark again, whispering about meeting him later. That was it. I had the proof I needed. The next day I confronted her again. This time I played the recording. Her face froze, and she immediately started spinning some story about how it was just sex, how it meant nothing, and how I was paranoid and insecure. She even had the nerve to say I was being controlling and jealous, the classic gaslighting move. I interrupted her before she could finish and told her I had more than enough, that I knew she'd been lying, cheating, sneaking around behind my back. Her eyes flared with anger. "You're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. You're just upset because I'm more successful than you. Or maybe because I still look good and you're feeling insecure. I'm not the problem here, Mike." I felt my stomach turn. How could she be so cold, so manipulative? I realized I'd been blind for so long, trying to hold on to what we once had. But it was clear now she didn't care about me, about us, about the marriage. She only cared about herself, her lies, and her affair with Mark. I told her I was done, that I wanted her out of the house. She fought me, of course, calling me crazy, saying I was overreacting and that I was ruining everything. But I didn't care anymore. The woman I loved, the woman I married, was gone, replaced by this bitch who thought she could lie and cheat her way through life. That day was a turning point. I knew I had to make a decision. Do I fight for us? Do I try to forgive? Or do I cut her loose and start over? As much as it hurt, I knew I couldn't stay with her. Not after all this. Not after she'd shattered my trust so completely. I felt broken, but also strangely relieved. I was finally seeing her for what she was, a liar, a cheater, and a manipulator. And I was done being the fool who believed in fairy tales. After kicking her out, I felt a strange mix of relief and pure chaos swirling inside me. The house felt emptier than ever, even with her gone. For the first few days, I was just numb, trying to piece everything together. I kept replaying what I saw, what I heard on the recordings, trying to understand how I missed all the signs. How I could have been so blind to the fact that the woman I loved was capable of betrayal on this level. But then the anger started creeping back in, not just at her, but at myself for trusting her so blindly. I had always believed in honesty, loyalty, and love, but she showed me none of that. Every time I looked at our wedding photos, I felt like a fool. We were supposed to be building a life together, a future. Instead, she was cheating on me during what should have been the most somber moment of our lives. The funeral that was supposed to be about mourning and family had turned into a sick game for her. I knew I had to do something about everything: legal, emotional, practical. I reached out to a lawyer, wanting to understand my rights. I also started documenting everything: screenshots of her messages, recordings, and a timeline of her suspicious behavior. When I told her I was going to get a divorce, she acted like I was the one breaking everything apart. She called me crazy, possessive, and accused me of trying to control her. Honestly, her denial only made me more sure I was making the right choice. What shook me the most was the way she lied so effortlessly. She kept insisting she loved me, that it was a mistake, that she was under stress, and that I was overreacting. She threw in the usual accusations about my insecurities, as if that excused her affair. But I knew better. She was manipulative, a master at twisting things around so she'd come out looking like the victim. I started to see her in a new light. All those years I thought I knew her, but beneath the surface, she was just a bitchy, selfish woman with no regard for my feelings or the vows we took. It made me wonder how many other lies she'd told, how many other men she'd been with behind my back. I didn't want to be naive anymore. I needed to protect myself and my kids, and that meant ending this nightmare. And then something happened that I didn't expect. One of her messages to Mark was sent to the wrong number, mine. I read it, completely stunned. She was planning her next move, talking about how she couldn't wait to get rid of me and be with Mark permanently. That was the final straw. I realized I had to get out of this toxic situation, no matter how much it hurt. I told her I wanted her out of my life, that I would file for divorce and I would fight for full custody of the kids. I didn't want them growing up thinking lying, cheating, and manipulative behavior was okay. I wanted to show them what real integrity looked like, even if it meant starting over alone. The hardest part was facing my own feelings. I felt betrayed, angry, and devastated, but also a strange sense of liberation. I wasn't going to let her ruin me or steal my happiness. Deep down, I knew I deserved better. I deserved someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, or manipulate me. I started to see the end of this chapter as the beginning of something new, a life where I could finally take back control. The house was quiet now, eerily so. I spent my days dealing with lawyers, trying to make sense of what was next. I'd be lying if I said I didn't cry sometimes, especially when I thought about the memories, the promises we made, the future I'd imagined. But I also knew I had to be strong. For my kids, for myself. And most importantly, for the truth. Because at the end of the day, honesty and loyalty are what matter most, and she'd thrown that all away. The divorce process started pretty quickly after I made up my mind. I wasn't planning on dragging things out. I wanted her gone, and I wanted to move on, as painful as that was. I filed the papers, and of course she fought me all the way. She tried to spin it like I was the crazy one, accusing me of trying to ruin her life, saying I was jealous and insecure. The usual tactics, but I didn't care anymore. I had the proof, and I knew the truth. Throughout the proceedings, she kept insisting that it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything, but I knew better. I saw the conversations, the flirtations, the way she touched Mark at my own father's funeral reception. This wasn't some innocent mistake. This was her actively choosing to betray everything we had built, and I wasn't about to let her get away with it. The worst part was how she tried to turn the kids against me. She told them I was crazy, that I was overreacting, and that I didn't love them anymore. I'd catch her whispering in their ears, trying to make me look like the bad guy. That hurt more than anything, seeing her manipulate my children. I loved those kids more than anything, and I hated that she was trying to destroy their perception of me. Despite her efforts, I remained firm. I got full custody of the kids because I didn't want them exposed to her toxic behavior. We agreed on a visitation schedule, but I kept it limited to what I thought was safe. I didn't want her dragging them into her drama, or worse, trying to poison them against me further. It was a rough time, but I knew I had to stay strong for them. The financial side was another mess. She tried to hide some money, claiming she was independent, but I had lawyers dig into her accounts. Turns out she'd been squirreling away cash, probably to start some new life with Mark or whoever she was seeing behind my back. I made sure she paid her fair share of the divorce settlement, and I fought hard for the house because I wanted stability for the kids. I wasn't about to let her walk away with everything, not after what she did. As the months went by, the pain started to dull, replaced by a strange sense of clarity. I realized I'd been living in a fairy tale, believing she was the woman I married, the one I loved, but she was never that person. She was manipulative, selfish, and ruthless. I was naive to think she'd ever change or that she truly loved me. Her actions proved otherwise. Gradually, I started rebuilding my life. I found a new job, one that pays better and is more fulfilling. I reconnected with friends I'd pushed aside, and I even started working out again. The kids seemed to be doing okay, considering everything. They missed their mother, of course, but they also saw that I was there for them. That meant everything to me. Looking back, I realize I've learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived the worst betrayal I could imagine, and I'm still standing. I wish I could say I've completely moved on, but I haven't. I still get angry sometimes when I think about everything she did. But at the same time, I'm grateful that I found the strength to end it, to finally walk away from the lie. So to anyone out there going through something similar, don't let the betrayal define you. Get the proof, stand your ground, and don't be afraid to walk away if that's what's best. Because at the end of the day, you deserve someone who respects and loves you. Not someone like her. Not someone who cheats during your worst moments. If I've learned anything, it's that honesty and loyalty matter more than anything. And if they're gone, you have every right to start over and rebuild your life. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize how much this whole mess has changed me. I used to think trust was the foundation of everything, marriage, friendship, even life. But betrayal taught me otherwise. It showed me who people really are, especially the ones you think you know. Lisa's betrayal wasn't just about the affair. It was about a complete lack of respect, decency, and honesty. She threw those values out the window the day she decided to cheat on me during one of the darkest moments of my life. I think what hurts the most isn't just the cheating, it's the lies, the manipulation, the way she tried to make me feel crazy for catching her. She's so good at lying that she convinced herself it was okay, that she could just cheat and somehow justify it. But I saw through it all. The recordings, the messages, the way she sneered and lied to my face. That's when I realized I was better off without her. Throughout this process, I've learned a lot about myself. I'm not perfect, but I'm resilient. I didn't let her destroy me. I fought for my kids, my sanity, my dignity. And in a strange way, I've started healing. Not completely, but enough to see that I deserve better. Someone who loves me for who I am, who respects me, who values loyalty. Because that's what marriage is supposed to be about: trust, honesty, and mutual respect. Without those, it's just a hollow shell. Looking back, I can honestly say I'm grateful for the lessons. Betrayal stings like hell, but it also opens your eyes. It makes you realize what you're willing to accept and what you're not. I'll never forget the pain, but I also won't let it define me. I'm moving forward stronger and more aware. I know now that real happiness isn't about holding on to someone who doesn't value you. It's about walking away and finding someone who does. To anyone reading this, if you're in a similar situation, hear me out. Don't settle for lies and betrayal. Get proof if you need to. Stand up for yourself. And don't be afraid to walk away. It's going to hurt, but it's better to be alone than to stay with someone who doesn't see your worth. Because ultimately, you'll come out of it stronger. And someday, you'll look back and realize that walking away was the best thing you ever did.